is it? Hey race fans, for the first time ever, we are live for this episode of Road to Indy TV. I'm Joel Sebastianelli. Wherever you are and however you're watching us tonight, thanks for coming to hang out. Very happy to have a special roundtable of guests, some of the people who have helped make this season so exciting. To my right, the man in charge of it all, Andersen Promotions CEO Dan Andersen, the series promoter, RC Enerson from Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires. He is a Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports driver, a rookie, and as of mid-Ohio, you're the most recent first-time winner, so congratulations on that. Stuck in the middle with us, Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, powered by Mazda driver Aaron Telitz is here. He's representing Cape Motorsports with Wayne Taylor Racing this season. His team has won 4 consecutive titles, fighting for a 5th at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in 3 weeks. And I told him that I would be nice, but he insisted on sitting all the way down there anyway. From JDC Motorsports in Pro Mazda Championship, presented by Cooper Tires, Kyle Connery. Now, since you're riding along with us tonight, we want you to get involved. I can host this show on my own, but I don't want to. So here's what you can do. Use the hashtag on the screen, hashtag MRTI Live. On Twitter, we're going to be monitoring that feed all night. Any questions you have, any comments and discussion about the show, post it there, and we're going to try to squeeze in as many as we can for every one of our guests throughout the next half hour or so. Guys, this whole Road to Indy season, I think leading up to it is one of the most exciting as far as the hype in recent memory, and a big reason for that is the reboot of Indy Lights. RC, you made a huge jump in the offseason. USF 2000 all the way up to Indy Lights. With the new car in particular, how does the IL-15 compare to everything else you've driven?
I mean, I'd say it's relatively close. I mean, the USF 2000 car is a good car. I spent 3 years in it, so I got pretty good at driving it. And then to jump to the Indy Lights car, the new IL-15, it wasn't too much different, actually. It was just a lot more power, a lot more grip, a lot more tire to use, and it's just getting used to pushing those limits and adapting to it was the biggest problem.
So it was a brand new car. We had a new team, Carlin, coming all the way over from Europe, and plenty of new drivers too, just like yourself. Dan, has this lived up to all the expectations you've had?
Well, we are excited about the debut of the IL-15. We think it's a pretty super race car. The talent in the field is deep. We don't have huge fields yet. We're working on that. We're expecting a few more teams to join us next year, but the racing has been exciting. Anyone who watched the Mid-Ohio race would agree with me, I think, on that these drivers put on a great show, and there's a lot of talent in this field.
Absolutely. Tons of talent all the way through the 3 series. Now, what you did is a little unconventional. You took a different route all the way up to Indy Lights by skipping Pro Mazda. But Kyle, you're a veteran of the series. You've been there for 3 years. How has that helped you develop as a driver?
Well, especially in this 3rd and final year in Pro Mazda, it's been incredibly competitive. So the past 2 years really, are one-off in 2013 and then a partial season last year, and then this season has really prepared us for that fight. I mean, you can look down the qualifying order, especially from Mid-Ohio, and you can see that 16 cars all within a second of each other. It's just incredibly close this year.
I mean, the parity, just like it is all the way at the top of the ladder, is top-notch, some of the best in the world, and it's a great ladder system. I mean, just looking at your series, you have names like Jack Hawksworth, Tristan Vaudier, Connor Daly, all these guys who have risen up through the ranks, and there's a long list of champions and even drivers who cut their teeth there but didn't win the championship in USF 2000, Indy Lights. I think the most exciting thing now, heading into the season, it was the reboot of Indy Lights, but now Pro Mazda and USF 2000 are going to get a facelift relatively soon. USF 2000 in 2017, Pro Mazda a year later. So Aaron, I know that that's kind of a long way from now. You're in USF 2000 now, may not be in 2 years, but what would you be looking for as a driver in that new chassis?
I think what I would be looking for as a driver is more safety, because right now kind of what holds a USF 2000 back from going to other ovals or faster racetracks is the fact that the car isn't quite safe enough to hold up maybe at a high-speed wreck. So if we get a new chassis in there, we can start going to places like Milwaukee or Iowa and those sort of ovals. In USF 2000, I think Dan might agree with that, where if we happen to have a wreck, the car is going to be safe enough to hold up and obviously keep us safe as a driver.
So what do we know about the new plan for USF 2000 and Pro Mazda right now, Dan?
Well, with support of the teams in the series, and we like to do that in the way we run a business, we take the team owners' interests and opinions very seriously. Everyone agreed it was time for us to debut a new car. The USF 2000 car particularly has been in service for a long time. It's a great training vehicle. I still love the car, but it's extremely dated. The drivers that are looking at series around the world want something with more safety, as Aaron mentioned, and also some of the features, the paddle shifting and maybe better braking than the USF 2000 car has. So we've gone out with an RFP. We have a number of different chassis manufacturers coming back to me with proposals at the end of this month. And hopefully within 30 to 45 days, we will choose a chassis and place the orders. And the plan is to have a show car on display at the Indy 500 next May, and then to do prototype testing next summer and deliver cars to the teams next fall.
There's so much that goes on behind the scenes in racing. I mean, it's not like going to a car dealership and just picking out a brand new car. So you have the initial decision to upgrade right now. What has to happen in between now and when those cars actually debut?
Well, we have to select a manufacturer, first of all. That's the most important thing. But our cars, because we also race on street circuits and ovals, we're looking at a car that will have some similarity to an F4 car, but it will not be an F4 car because, frankly, an F4 car is designed for permanent road courses. It's not exactly the car that you would run on an oval. So we require a double bulkhead, for instance, that gives the driver more protection, and an F4 car doesn't have that. So we will have a car that'll kind of be an enhanced version of that level of that category of car. It'll be a carbon fiber car. It'll have a sequential gearbox. It'll have a Mazda engine. It'll have Cooper tires. We are working with partners such as PFC and Motegi Wheels and some of our other partners on what will be outfitted on the car. But there are a lot of decisions that Scott Elkins and I will be making. He'll be project managing this car. He's assembling all the bids, and it's exciting. We want a car that's, as we told the folks at Dallara, we want a sexy race car, something that's nice to look at. It's got to be super safe. It has to be technologically superior to what we have now, and it'll be fun. The new car debut should be fun.
Yeah, sexy is good and fun to drive. I think that was the most popular thing that people said getting out of the IL-15. When the IndyCar drivers tested it, everyone said it was so much fun. So Kyle, outside of the fact that it would be fun and fast, for the new Pro Mazda car coming up in a couple of years, what do you think could be improved on? What would you want to see?
I think the biggest thing that can be improved from the car now to the car of the future is essentially the openness that the engineers will have within the chassis. I think a lot of what you're seeing now is how competitive things are because of how tightly regulated everything is, which is great to a certain degree, but I think with a new car, especially from a manufacturer like Dallara or some other comparative manufacturer, I think it's going to be key to a certain degree to, as well as bring up engineers in the series, you have to allow them to work on the car to do so. And so I think having a new car and a fresh outlook on things, just like the Indy Lights have done this year, I think it'll be very positive for Pro Mazda in the future.
Kyle brings up a good point. One of the things about the Mazda Road to Indy is the training, and while for cost purposes, we have to have a spec format, otherwise the costs can get out of control. We also want to give the drivers a lot of different adjustments because they need to learn how to drive as they progress up the ladder, how to work with a crew chief and an engineer, and how to learn tuning a car. So a pure spec car with limited adjustments doesn't serve our purposes, and part of what we will be designing is how much adjustment there is in the car. But you mentioned a good point there, Kyle.
Right, so I've got something else to add to that. I heard you say about keeping costs under control. I know what F4 has done is kind of the FIA has set the price at how much those cars can be, what the parts can be. Is there a plan to do that with this new car to keep costs from going, so much more expensive than they already are?
Yes. The way we've designed the RFP is a lot of an F4 car's components will fit into the RFP. So we're intending to build a safer, enhanced version of an F4 and utilize the cost points that have already been set. A manufacturer can comply with the RFP and use a lot of his F4 car pieces benefiting all of us with the right cost. They just have to improve a few areas to give me a safer race car. But that's the goal, is to bring the price below what the current USF 2000 and Pro Mazda cars are, well below them.
As a poor race car driver, I am on board with this whole idea.
Yeah, it's hopefully it'll work. That's my goal.
Yeah, and as a race fan, I'm really excited for it too. It's a new look, and with Indy Lights this year, which is like a fresh start for a series we've been familiar with for so long. Now, while we are doing this, we're going to give the drivers a chance to think about the answer to a question. We want you to think of other questions, so use the hashtag MRTILive. We'll get some of your questions up on the show. You guys have the notepads in front of you. Here's what I want you guys to think about. Money is not an object here, Aaron, so it doesn't matter about being poor or whatever, all right? Let's just say this is a perfect parallel universe where you could hire whoever you want. If you were a Road to Indy team owner, who would you most want on your team? So take a second to think about that. You can write your answer down. You have plenty of experience now with all sorts of drivers. I mean, the list goes on and on with who's driven for you. It's an impressive list. Who makes your all-star lineup?
You're asking me right now, or do I get to write it down?
You know, see, they get a little bit of time because...
Get some time.
Yeah.
I see how this works. Okay.
We're going to put you on the spot. It's going to be
When
a
I
thing.
had a team, Andersen Racing had teams on all three of the levels that I now control. We had a number of drivers, drivers like Graham Rahal and Connor Daly, J.R. Hildebrand, Mario Romancini. We had a number of talented drivers that drove for Andersen Racing. Who is on my all-star lineup? Well, those names are all talented people. If I pick a favorite, I have to cross paths with all these guys all over the place. Tristan Vautier is one of my more recent drivers. Definitely is on my list of favorite drivers. And the drivers I mentioned before that. Peter Dempsey drove for us. It drove me crazy a little bit. I love Peter, but he can be challenging sometimes. But Peter either won or came back with a damaged race car. But he was fun to have on the team. We had a lot of good drivers in Andersen Racing, and it was fun being on that side of the fence as a team owner. And I don't know beyond that. I probably had 25 drivers or 30 drivers drive for me, so I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but all good drivers.
I think Tristan's a great choice, too. Now that he's running with Dale Coyne, you don't have to worry about running into him and you didn't pick him. So yeah. He's probably the one you're going to see most regularly now.
Well,
I think you nailed it.
Connor did some prototype testing for us, and I see J.R. Hildebrand at the track. Mario Romancini went back to Brazil, but he actually put on some exciting shows for us. He won a couple of races for my team. Graham Rahal, I was partners with Bobby when I had my team. It was Rahal, Letterman, Andersen Racing when we had our Lights team. So Graham started with me in Pro Mazda, did a whole season with Pro Mazda, and then moved up the ladder.
All right, Dan bought you some time with that answer. So RC, what do you got? Let's lead off with you.
I mean, it's not only because he's my teammate, but I mean, I think he's the best choice out of the Road to Indy as a complete driver. I mean, he has the most consistent finishes I've ever seen, and it's just he produces so much. And to be Jack Harvey, because I mean, just as much as experience as he has, going through Europe, going up through GP3, and then coming over here and putting on a hell of a rookie season, and then coming into this season and producing just as good, if not better. And that's just probably my top choice for picking somebody to go.
And what a heartbreak, losing the championship on the tiebreaker last year.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. But not only to go to first places, but to also go to second places is a huge kind of a downer. But I mean, everybody had some big championship battles last year, but I think that he'd be my top pick for a team.
You know, he just had an IndyCar test too at Sonoma. So seeing your teammate go on to something like that, does that give you extra motivation moving forward, knowing that that could be you at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that we've done really good this season. We've done a lot better than we expected to be. I mean, I expected to be running top fives towards the end of the season, but to come away with podiums and wins is way better than expected, and I'm just looking forward to more of it, especially at the finale.
And an occasional flip.
Yeah, and an occasional flip, which I can actually, since then, I haven't finished outside the top five, so I don't know if that was good for me or we'll see what happens. I
mean, it's an easy way to gain Twitter followers.
Yes.
So there's that. You went viral. For sure, you made SportsCenter. There's not a lot of racers who can say that. So you got that going for you at least, and you've had a great rookie campaign in Indy Lights. Aaron, who do you have?
All right, I've got Spencer Pigot. That's my pick, and the reason why is because you just mentioned they had an IndyCar test with the Indy Lights drivers, and Team Penske chose to have Spencer drive their car. So I feel like if Spencer's good enough for Penske and Tim Cindric, he'd definitely be good enough for my team.
And you want to snatch him before the captain does, too.
That's right. That's right.
All right,
and,
Kyle.
and a scholarship winner several steps up the ladder.
Yes, yes.
I have to go with Santino Urrutia this year. He's been incredibly consistent. He's been fast. He's always been in contention, and he's been up there to pick up the pieces when other guys have made mistakes, which is huge. Because on days when maybe you don't have the fastest car, if you can pick up the pieces from what other people give you, I think that's the quality of a champion. So, Santiago, yeah.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is, and he has that international experience too. You don't have necessarily international experience, but I know you drove sports cars for a little while, SCCA. How did that help you leading up to Road to Indy? Is there anything you take from one car moving over to a series like Pro Mazda?
Not really. I think the biggest difference is when guys jump from, say, when I worked with Audi in the LMS Grand Am car. When you step from something like that to even a Pro Mazda or, God forbid, an Indy Lights, it's any kind of open wheel racing, which I absolutely love, is so much faster. Everything happens faster, the catches are faster, there's so much more things that it's an all around more aggressive environment, I think. So from that standpoint, yeah, I think very little transfers, but if you're a race car driver through and through, you're gonna step from one series to the other and that's it. You're gonna learn how to drive what you have.
Okay, so speaking of dream lineups, we just used Road to Indy there, but there may be a bit of a dream lineup as far as IndyCar guys coming over to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the finale with Indy Lights. We have our first Twitter question of the night. Remember, you can use the hashtag MRTILive if you want to ask any of us anything. RC, do you think that it would be fair if any of these guys come over and race with you guys and maybe have some sort of effect on the championship battle?
I think it'd be good. I mean, car count's always great. I mean, we're a little bit low right now, so I mean, if you finish last, you still get 10, 12 points or somewhere up there in the points, so it's not like you get completely destroyed if you are crashed out. But I mean, car count is a big thing. It makes a bigger, more exciting race. But I think the biggest thing was just to get different people's opinion on the new car and Mazda Road to Indy and open wheel cars. I mean, that's probably just the biggest thing.
And who can pass up an opportunity to race on the corkscrew too? I'm hoping we get there early enough for the track walk so I can actually walk down that. I mean, it's such a cool track. Is that one of the ones that you've been looking forward to the most, guys?
Yeah, I mean, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca is my second favorite racetrack in the United States besides Road America. Got to go with my hometown racetrack there, but Mazda Raceway is absolutely awesome. I don't know how good it's going to be for passing, but as far as driving goes, you know, it's going to be my favorite track of the season for sure.
If Alex Zanardi can make it work in there, I mean, you can. Yeah. You got to use all the racetrack, even a little bit outside, whatever you can get away with, right?
That's right. That's right. You got to look out for that drainage ditch though at the bottom and ruin your whole race car.
Hey, Road America is coming back. We know that, at least for IndyCar. Is there anything that you can tell us about the 2016 schedule, Dan?
We'll be at Road America with all three series.
That's really good to hear.
I can tell you that.
That's great to hear. That's such a great racetrack.
Oh, I am such a fan of that. I'm cool with that. It's going to make for some exciting racing.
Anyone who has experience on that track we may not allow them to race, but I'm just kidding out.
Well, that's a local race for you, though. That's not too far away from where you are in Wisconsin, is it?
It is. It's still about 4 hours from where I grew up, but I'm definitely gonna have all my friends and family out, and as many people from Wisconsin that want to come out and watch me. It's gonna be a good time, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of new tracks possible on the IndyCar schedule. I'm really hoping we get a chance to go to Boston. If you wear your Packers stuff, though, or if any of you wear your Colts stuff, I'm not responsible for anything that happens to you up there. And that means you too, Dan. I know you're a Giants and Jets fan. Do you have one or the other, Giants or Jets?
I've probably been a Jets fan longer than a Giants fan, but they've made a lot of dumb moves lately, so I think I'm moving over. I have seats in both. For business mainly.
I think the only thing we're going to have to worry about the IndyCar race in Boston is if any New England teams decide to
deflate
their
tires
a little too low.
That's true. I mean, we got to watch the inflation pressures up in the wind.
It's true. Yeah, we're going to have to watch out.
Yeah, I mean, that cold air will get you up there.
That's
that cold air.
I'll clue the tech guys in on that.
You should.
All right, so one of the things as far as moving up goes, I mean, if you've got money, if you've got an opportunity, that's great, but the scholarship is huge. And I know, Aaron, from Skip Barber, the Mazda scholarship is actually how you got into USF 2000, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, I was in just Formula F 1600 racing in 2013. I went to the Skip Barber Championship shootout and ended up winning the thing, which gave me the Mazda Speed Scholarship for $200,000, and that's what got me onto the Mazda Road to Indy. Without that, I'd never even be here.
Okay, so you just answered one question a minute ago about wanting to go back to Road America. Now we know we get to do that. We have another question from Twitter that asks for all of you guys, which track would you most like to see on Road to Indy's calendar? And it doesn't necessarily have to be one that's in the mix. Do you have another one besides Road America, Aaron?
Besides Road America, there's this track in Michigan called Groton. And I don't know if anybody's ever been there, and Dan's laughing, but it is the most insane racetrack I've ever been to. It's like out of a video game. They have a corner that's actually called the jump corner, and you get airborne even in like a Skip Barber car or a go-kart. You get up in the air as you go up and over, and then you have to brake and make a corner. And they have a corner that like goes so far off camber, it's like you're gonna flip over.
Like the old Nürburgring, just in the middle of nowhere too,
Yeah.
going over that hump.
Well,
Oh,
if we
yeah.
wanted to launch in the air, we could just put Baltimore back on there.
Hey, well, that was a great track. I loved Baltimore when it was on the schedule. Kyle, do you have one?
I would have to say it used to be Mosport until they put concrete runoff areas. I was a big fan of that track because of the consequences. It was like the last
Turn
true,
two.
yeah, turn two. Oh my gosh, yeah, the last like
You
screw
true
up,
like
you're gonna-
scary
Crashed a lot of cars in turn two.
racetrack, you know, in North America. But I would have to say Mont Tremblant. I think that'd be a really cool track to go to.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be phenomenal as well. So many great tracks in the world and so little time, unfortunately. We're going to be back, though, 3 weeks, Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, to wrap up the year. Get those pens ready again. I have another question for you. This time, let's have a little bit of fun. Of everybody on Road to Indy that you guys have raced with, who's the series clown? Like a high school superlative, class clown. I think on our Road to Indy team, Anders would probably be the class clown. I don't think anybody else comes close.
He's pretty goofy.
When he was with you, was he just as much fun then?
Yeah, the crazy Norski. I mean, he was Anders. I love Anders. I mean, he came over to drive for my USF 2000 team. I neglected to mention him as one of my all-star team guys.
See, I bailed you out. That's why I asked you.
I'm sorry, Anders. He is definitely one of my favorites. And it's a funny story about that. I'm Norwegian, and Anders contacted my team, and I said, a Norwegian race car driver, I don't even know any Norwegian race car drivers. I have to get this guy on my team. And that's how Anders came to come to the U.S.
All right. So, RC,
My series clown.
for dramatic effect.
That guy right there.
Why?
I don't get to
What
talk
makes
to him-
Aaron
I
so
don't get
funny?
to talk to him too much at the track. I mean, I get some giggles and stuff, but most of the things is the Twitter posts, Twitter and Instagram. I get a laugh out of it almost every single post, and I think it's just I think it's good to have somebody with that sense of humor in the Road to Indy.
If anybody's playing my Mazda Road to Indy live Twitter game that I came up with, I don't think
I've said championship battle twice now.
I don't think anyone's doing too badly yet. Dan's got to say some Soul Reds is what we need.
Soul red is the best color anyway.
right, it
Everyone
is.
should have a soul red
right.
car.
All right, Aaron. So you can't choose yourself, but who would you choose for the series clown?
You know, I'm going to pick someone that no one's going to expect, and that's Florian Latour.
Really?
Yeah, so no one expects that because he doesn't speak very good English, but he's absolutely hilarious. Like, if you get to know him and talk to him. Earlier this year, we were doing some preseason testing here in Florida at Sebring, and he was rooming with Daniel Burkett in the same hotel, and Florian would take Danny's toothbrush and like scoop it into the hair gel and then like rinse it off or whatever for Danny to use, and Danny would just use it and know it was Florian instantly. Just want to beat the crap out of Florian. Anyhow, he's kind of just like a prankster like that, and I think that's totally funny.
It's the quiet ones you have to worry about.
That's right.
Always, because he's
right.
he's not the most outgoing, but he does have a great personality.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I've learned all of my French from Florian and Nico. I can't actually say any of it on here, but it's all good
Can
stuff.
you curse in French?
Oh yeah, pretty much all of them. Yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing you got to learn.
It's the most useful application for French here, right?
Nobody knows what you're saying.
All right, so Kyle, what about you as the class clown?
I have to go with Shelby Blackstock for a number of reasons. The first time I actually met Shelby in person, we were at, I think it was Barber Winterfest in 2013, at the end of 2013. And I walk up to him and I hey, you know, Shelby, nice to meet you. And I introduced myself and I said, oh, I've seen your mom for years. And I kind of left it at that awkward silence just for a moment when what he said, and he goes, yeah, a lot of people tell me that. And I can't tell you how many times we've been standing by the pit wall, especially last year in Pro Mazda, and boy, he has a radar for women. It is astonishing. He's just pinpoint any girl. It's hysterical. So.
Right, Reba McEntire, of course, is related to Shelby, Shelby's mother. Now, I hate saying this, but we're almost at the end of the year. It's almost here, so we have another question from Twitter. How do you guys stay fit in the off-season? Let's start with you, Kyle.
My fitness for the off season, especially just living in Florida, is going outside. You know, it's incredibly
Your own
important.
personal sauna.
That
Yeah,
works in the
essentially.
north, too. Bundle on all those clothes, the extra
Yeah,
weight on your
yeah.
back, trudge through the snow like Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. No, for me,
We don't do that in the north. Maybe they do in
Not
Yeah.
by choice.
No. But no, really, just down in Florida, I love the cycle. You know, it's my sport to kind of get away from racing and all the hectic and chaos of a season when it finally comes to a close, and I can put in 70 miles on my bike each weekend. It's a good feeling. So cycling, especially.
And what about you, Aaron?
In Wisconsin, a big thing during the winter is 12-ounce curls and watching the Packers play.
Not cheese curls or cheese curds, right? Like
yeah.
actual curls.
Yeah, curls. 12-ounce curls. Did anybody catch that? No one caught that in here. That's awesome. Okay. No, so also, you know, we obviously have a lot of winter sports. Love to go snowshoeing or snowboarding.
Snowshoeing?
Snowshoeing, yeah. It's a great workout, I'm telling you. And then, yeah, go snowboarding, snowmobiling. That's a big thing as well.
For me, mostly just running, gym, and it's so hot in Florida. I mean, you're just gonna sweat as soon as you walk outside, so that's another big thing. But the biggest thing for me is water sports, like going wakeboarding, skiing if you really want to go skiing, but on the ocean that's kind of hard. But tubing, jet skiing, anything I can do on the water to keep cool in the water from how hot it is here, and then also try and get a workout in as much as possible. And since you're doing all those fun sports, it doesn't really feel like a workout, but you definitely feel it the next day, but it's just a big thing to have fun while you're doing it as well.
All right, so when we do get to next season, I mean, there's some pretty fun stuff that's on the horizon. We have the Mazda Road to Indy Shootout, which is going to field somebody in USF 2000, whoever's the winner of that. We have the lightning round for Cooper Tires and Indy Lights, so that could be really cool, the actual knockout stage. So what are you guys most looking forward to for next season, wherever you wind up, RC?
I'm looking forward to just another season of Lights and getting as much experience as possible, and possibly next year going for a championship and see where that leads me, hopefully to IndyCar. But hopefully with Schmidt again next year, and see where we can go with things. I mean, I have a good bond with my crew and my engineer, and hopefully go forward with it next year and see where we end up.
Okay, Aaron, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, I just love driving race cars. That's what I want to do. So hopefully I'm on the Mazda Road to Indy driving race cars. Hopefully I've moved up to a different series in it, and I just want to win races. That's what I'm here to do.
All right, well, you hope to succeed next year. One more question for you guys, at least unless you guys have any more, remember, hashtag MRTI Live. The one I have for you, though, who is the most likely to succeed as their career goes on in the road to Indy? You can't choose yourself. That's the only stipulation here. I know you guys would all want to write yourself down, but you have to choose somebody else.
Wouldn't.
At this point, you've peaked now?
Yeah, I peaked. I've no championships in my career.
Well, we just mentioned the Mazda shootout, though.
Believe
I
it or not,
do want to
drove
hit
a
on.
Formula Ford once upon a time.
How long ago?
Back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
Oh,
So I'm talking
in
about,
the
where's
90s.
Michelle at? Michelle. Yeah.
Back in the 90s.
We'll do our best to verify that later on. You can't hide from the internet now. I hope you know that. So
I don't
we're
know
going to
that we
hold
had
you
the
to
internet
that.
back in the 90s. That's 2 times.
All right, so hey, Dan.
And I didn't drive a Soul Red car either.
No.
Getting there.
What was it,
I don't
a
think
new
that color was invented at the time.
Soul Red was not invented at the time. But it's a great Mazda color.
Well, speaking of Mazda, the shootout for USF 2000 that's coming up, you guys just announced that at Mid-Ohio. What can you tell us about that?
That's a pretty neat change of the way they're bringing a driver into our series. Every year Mazda scholarships a driver into USF 2000. It has been over recent years the Skip Barber champion, but now it's a wider group. There'll be 15 to 20 tickets given out to championships all over the world. Each driver winning one of these championships that commits to the relationship with us, and I think we're up to 12 or 13 already. They'll get a ticket. They'll come to Mazda Raceway in the fall of 2016 for a one-day knockout deal. One driver will walk away with a $200,000 scholarship. So for us, it's good. A lot of countries, I think New Zealand, Australia, Scotland, I think just signed on. The UK with talking with some series in South America that want to jump on, a bunch of North American series. It'll be great to get 15 to 20 drivers, all from various junior formulas, coming together and driving equally prepared cars at Mazda Raceway. Should be cool.
What kind of cars are they driving there?
They will drive equally prepared cars. I'm not at liberty to say whose.
Oh, all right, all right.
Okay, so we don't know who, but we do know where and when, so that's going to be
Yes.
really neat. RC, let's get to the questions now. Who is the most likely to succeed?
I mean, it's kind of a different pick than I thought I would go for because I can't pick myself. I mean, so I think my biggest pick would be Nico Jamin. I mean, if you look at his performance this past season, it's been incredible. I mean, he's been flawless through Mid-Ohio and the previous races before that. There's been a few hiccups here and there where Jake has gotten the edge on him, but I think if he just keeps performing like that, he could go really far.
And he's your teammate, too.
He is my teammate, yeah.
Did you choose him?
I did not choose him. He's very good, and I think he's going to succeed. But I have a couple most likely to succeed. I'm going to pick Neil Alberico, and that's just because he's been in the Mazda Road to Indy, always finishing up near the top in all the points championships. He's just such a solid driver, and I think that he's going to represent, you know, whatever team or whatever sponsors behind him really, really well. He's just a well-spoken kid, and he's awesome, super fun to hang out with.
Okay, Kyle, do you have anyone?
It's
You
actually
have to have someone.
Yeah, I do. Actually, it's somebody in this room, somebody I've known for a long time, RC. I've known him since karting, and I've watched him kind of come up, and we've done it together. But I've really been impressed this year. You know, in terms of championship points, I don't think it's the year that they were expecting. I think it actually exceeded expectations. But I think his raw performance on the track has been outstanding. I mean, there's been races where the excitement of Indy Lights has come back through RC, and I think it's just awesome.
And definitely, we have a lot of very talented guys. Just had a few who we mentioned earlier who tested at Sonoma in an Indy car. No better place to be, is there, than the Road to Indy?
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us. This is a lot of fun. We'll have to do this again at some point soon. We, as a whole, as a Road to Indy team, we are going to do something soon. 3 weeks, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The championship wraps up in all 3 series. So that's it for now. For Jonah Travick, JP Manarola, Travis Ernest, Katie Wilson, all of us behind the scenes, thank all of you guys once again for coming. I'm Joel Sebastianelli. You know where to find us and when. Thanks for coming along for the ride tonight on Mazda Road to Indy TV.